Carried on with our normal schedule. We went ahead and practiced last night, and we're on a day off. The coaches are back in the office and on a normal routine, and actually feel pretty good today. Maybe later in the day it might catch up with us a little bit, but we feel pretty good, and the players were in a good frame of mind last night, and so we got a big week ahead of us playing a good football team on the road that is very deserving of a top 10 ranking. One of the few teams that I've seen over the last few years that are really solid in all three phases. They're playing good on offense, and they're playing good on defense, and they're sound in the kicking game. And so they've become a complete football team, and obviously their coaching staff's been intact there now for a number of years, and must feel pretty good about what they're doing in those three phases, and comfortable with the direction they're going. And a quarterback that's playing good, a running back that can make plays. You got a couple guys that are averaging 5 or 6 catches a game that can take the ball and change a game at any time, and giving up 10 points a game and scoring 35 or whatever it is a game. So that difference between those two is really good. So we'll have to have a great week of preparation, and glad we're playing a 2:30 game. So look forward to getting down there and playing the game after a good week.
2:30 p.m.
2:30 p.m. That's right.
Not to dwell on the situation, but coaches are always learning things about their team. You had a situation to learn about your team that no coach really has ever experienced before. How impressed were you with the way your guys handled that situation? In retrospect, now that you've had time to think about it.
They did a nice job, and you don't really know what to expect. We had an incident at Troy a few years ago, and which would have been a 45-minute to an hour delay, maybe. I'm not sure, somewhere in that area. But this one was much more extensive, and I thought they really handled it very well. You're in a visitor's locker room, you're in confined quarters, and you have around 160 people in there, 150 people coming in and out based on all the personnel and the team. And so it got hot in there, and found out that they like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I guess if you're hungry enough, you'll eat whatever's available. So it was, a unique situation. We had some wives there, and they made the sandwiches, and players ate them, and coaches ate them, and then they became stir crazy after a couple hours. They were up and moving around, which concerned us as coaches, and Rob Glass, our strength coach, because they were on their feet for so long. But we were able to kind of regroup and focus, and I thought we played pretty well in the first half. We didn't play very well against the run throughout the game. We were really soft, so you can take that part and put it aside. But other than that, we played pretty well. And then I thought at the second part of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, guys just went through the motions. The grades of the players were considerably better in the first half than they were in the second half. And I was concerned about that and had some discussions with our staff yesterday. And one of our staff members brought it to my attention that there was 10 or 12 minutes to go in the third quarter, and it's 45-6, and they probably lost focus at that time. We had a 80-yard run, and they had kicked the ball off, and it landed on the 40, and they got it and then hit us with the pass play, and so from then we kind of got back into the rhythm. But overall, I thought they handled it fairly well.
Mike, you talked about the peanut butter and jelly. That stuff you took with you in preparation, or did somebody have to go to the grocery store?
Had to go to the store.
Who went?
A couple of our strength coaches, assistant strength coaches. Rob Glass wanted them to eat. He knows when they're supposed to eat and all that, and so he sent them to the store. And there was the media room there that was next to the visitors' locker room is where all the wives came down, and they were in there. So they were willing to go to work. See, I didn't say put them to work. my generation is learning. They were willing to make sandwiches. They made 2 and ate 1. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Just took a step back.
We have beautiful wives, and so they were making them as fast as all get out, and taking them in there. And we went to the store and they bought those huge canisters, and so that's what the players were able to eat. Because you think about, see, our pregame meal was at 5:30, and then it's midnight. They hadn't eaten yet, and for those guys, they're used to eating all the time, so they had to get their nutrition level back up.
So Mike, that loss of focus that you were talking about, is that maybe the main cause of the problems that you guys had on defense against the run, or was it a scheme thing, or how you were lined up, or something like that?
We had that problem in the second quarter, and that's why I said you can put that aside. We've corrected that. They lined up in a couple formations that we hadn't seen, and it took us a while to get adjusted to them. They had a little more of an opportunity to allow the quarterback to run and fit into that system based on what happened with Kenny. The other guy came in and he was a little more suited for that. So the combination of that, the combination of the scheme they had, and we were soft up front. You put all that together, and that's what we ended up with. And that didn't have anything to do with what time we played.
So how much does that concern you going down to College Station with the running game that A&M has?
Well, I'm concerned with it. It's a little different. Not that they couldn't make those adjustments and put those plays in. A little bit different scheme. But my concern was two things. One, we played too high up front and we were too soft. Okay, and that doesn't have anything to do with what they did or what our defensive scheme was. And two, that you always have to stop a team that's going to run the ball if they're willing to run it, or you're going to be in for a long night. I mean, we were more athletic than Tulsa, and so we were able to score a lot of points. But we're going to be in games where we don't have that luxury. Teams are going to be as talented as we are on the skilled positions, so we're going to have to play good football inside. And those are the two things that concerned me. And we'll work diligently this week to get it corrected before we go to A&M and play a team that's obviously a very good football team.
You had a lot of fans in Tulsa, so Saturday's really the first true road test of the season. What worries you the most about going on the road, especially to a place like Kyle Field, such a good home field advantage?
Yeah, it's a great home field advantage. We've had success there and won before. Fortunately, we have mature players, and I expect them to play well. You never know. Obviously, there'll be some guys that are playing on the road for the first time, but there should be enough leadership in our locker room, and guys understand that, when you get on the field, you're between those lines. We're 11 on 11.
It's really become a good series, Mike. Every game's close.
Mhm.
You won 3 straight. The 2 years before that, you lost by 1.
Right.
Let's talk about how this series and rivalry sort of really flourished in recent years.
Well, and that's what we talk about in our league in the Big 12, and that's what's happened is when you play at a high level of football in schools that Oklahoma State doesn't have the tradition in football that A&M does. Oklahoma State's building tradition. A&M's got a lot of tradition. They've had tradition for a long time, and teams get better and compete, and we recruit the same players, and with the access to publicity and media coverage and social networking, everybody knows each other, then that's created. And so that's a good thing for college football. There's a lot of interest in the game.
You said you'll face teams who have equal skill position guys or talent to you. Do you think A&M does?
Mhm.
Tannehill and Gray. And
Yeah, I think that Cyrus and the 2 big wideouts they have, and the quarterback and their corners, that they've got skill like we do.
Mike, there's been some talk about A&M's defense having lost Von Miller, that may be coming into this year, that they may not be as good as they were last year. They looked pretty good their first 2 games. What are your thoughts on their defense?
Well, I'm agreeing with you. They had 11 sacks in 2 games. And again, people would argue who they're playing and whatever, but I'm not so sure that you can really take away 11 sacks. So their scheme was good. They have good blitz packages, and it's allowed them to have success on that side of the ball.